Hi there everyone and welcome back to my channel. 2011, the year in Billboard charts are on the table today as I get to the halfway mark, I suppose, of this year's Advent Calendar series. It would be the 12th of December today, if you're watching it the day it was uploaded, which means we're halfway to Christmas Eve, which is, well, basically halfway through my series as well. 2011, a year that I have very strong memories from what I did in life and whatever happened. Music-wise, maybe not so much. Most of these songs I'm definitely familiar with that I will be talking about today. I gotta say, probably all of them bar maybe one or two. However, do I like the songs that really charted highly this year? I guess that's what we're about to find out. The top 20 hits according to Billboard from the year are on screen here, and I'm starting off with the song that was actually in 21st place, believe it or not, because this year, I just have to quickly go through why the song in 21st is in here. Last time I included a song that was in 21st, I was happy about it because there were two songs in the top 20 that kind of were part one and part two with the same title. This time around, Just the Way You Are by Bruno Mars was actually in the top 20 again, which it also was in 2010. And I didn't really feel the need to talk about that song twice, like in two separate videos. I already said my 2 cents on it, so if you're here to listen to my thoughts on that, you can just go back to the 2010 video. Instead, I just scrapped it out from today's video and included the song in 21st place, which was Look at Me Now by Chris Brown, Lil Wayne, and Busta Rhymes. And as I said, last time I included the song in 21st place, I was actually really stoked and excited about it because it was a song I loved. This time around, I'm really distraught by it. I did not know about this song, I had never heard it before, and yeah, I didn't need to hear it, in all honesty. I assume that half a minute was spent on putting this one together, so I won't spend any more time than that talking about it. Incohesive, infuriating instrumental behind this track. I assume that it's only here to be a rap showcase, and I have no time to listen to that, even though I gave them my time to listen to it. But no, this is absolutely not something that I would ever seek out to listen to. I found it to be incredibly obnoxious, and the less I say, the better. It's an F to kick off the list. There we go. Moving up into the actual top 20 then, with the song that then moves up to 19th place, which was a collaboration between Rihanna and Drake called What's My Name. And Rihanna, I've had varied opinions about throughout this whole series. Drake, I've only had one opinion on so far when he was part of this group that I talked about yesterday that I don't remember the song, I don't remember the group name, but he's starting to get into the mainstream now, I suppose, and if that's a good thing, I'll let you be the judge. In my case, maybe not really. This track is decently sung by Rihanna, I'd say, but ultimately it is quite uninteresting, I think. It has a very repetitive hook. Credit where credit's due, absolutely. The production is quite crisp on this song, especially for being 2011, I think. And I also really like in this track how when Rihanna accents her melodies, she kind of like packs an extra punch in her voice during these elevations, which is quite nice, and I think that's really being showcased in this track. Other than that, though, I find it to be very uninteresting. I don't think Drake really provides a lot of a memorable performance in this either. I think it's just gonna be placed in the D tier. I don't return to this. It has a few standout parts due to Rihanna, I would say, but ultimately that annoying hook and just kind of an uninspired listen, I think, really just holds it back. So it's not really up my alley in that regard, I think. Next up is Pink, and last time I talked about Pink was like 11 videos ago or something. She obviously had hits throughout the entire time, but nothing that actually got so high on the Billboard charts. Until now, there are actually two songs by her, the other one coming right up. This first one, though, is called I'm Not Allowed to Curse on YouTube, so it's the F word and then perfect. You know this song, absolutely. And it's never really been my kind of Pink song, I suppose. I get what it's going for. It tries to be very passionate, quite engaging. There's a lot of drive in the track, and Pink really goes for it in her vocal performance, I think. Stands out. It's accessible as well. I remember this being played on the radio all the time in Sweden, and you could still hear it today. And I get it. It's just that I'm kind of just kind of non-responsive towards it. I don't know. It just passes me by. I don't pay attention to it at all. It does what it does, but I don't think it's really a standout pop tune in any regard. It's sweet enough, I suppose. I'm going to place it in the D category. I don't think it deserves any more than that. I just think it passes me by. I don't think it's particularly interesting, even though it's decently made. It's a competent tune. Then I always kind of cringe a little when you have to when an artist feels the need to come across as authentic or something by cursing. I don't think that's really a necessity, but you do you, Pink. I just kind of zone out of this track though. I don't particularly enjoy it. Next up, Lady Gaga, Born This Way. And Lady Gaga, I've been obviously just showering with praise throughout this series so far. However, this is kind of where I think the page is starting to turn a little bit. Born This Way is absolutely melodically very, very strong and compelling, and I think it's a catchy song, absolutely. But when I sit down to listen to it, I'm struck by one thing and one thing mainly. And it's this chaotic arrangement behind the actual vocal throughout this track. I think the instrumental is all over the place. It's a proper mess, in my opinion. Like melodically, this song really hits, but the backdrop is just too much for me, and I get a bit distracted by it, really. I think is the main thing. It's a bit too chaotic for my liking, and I kind of disapprove of it because of that. Melodically, it's still very, very strong, and vocally as well. I think she sells it incredibly well. I like the message behind the track as well. But the chaotic approach in the instrumental, I get that that's very Lady Gaga-esque to just go outside of the box and do your own thing. But in this case, it becomes distracting for me. So I'm placing this in the C tier, actually, which you may consider harsh, but I can't shy away from the fact that this is a song that I don't really return to for the very fact that it is a bit too much for my liking, I suppose. But still, C tier, too many redeeming qualities in the track for me to disregard it more than that, I would say. Next up, Pink again. I told you that there would be two Pink songs, and this is Raise Your Glass. And Raise Your Glass is absolutely quite a punchy, energetic, driving track. I think that this one is more maybe purposeful than the previous one. This one just feels like all out, wants to be engaging, a little bit of like a pop rock crossover. And it's a very, very catchy chorus. It gets the listener involved within the track, and it's one of these songs that just kind of speaks to the listener as well, I suppose. For me, I don't really listen to this song either, I have to be honest. It's not my kind of music. I get this one a bit more. I think it's a bit more just engaging and actually energetic and gets me invested into the track a bit more than the F word perfect. So that kind of makes me want to put it higher than the other track, but at the same time, I never really seek this one out either, if I'm completely honest. I will be placing this one in the C tier, but it's going to be at the very end of C tier because I never seek this one out. But decent enough, I suppose. It's just not really my kind of music. What am I saying? If it's not my kind of music, it's not going in C tier. Sorry. It's more up my alley for sure, but it's just not something I listen to. So D tier. I changed my mind last minute there. Next up, we got Enrique Iglesias with Ludacris and DJ Frank E. And the song is called Tonight, and then in parentheses is I'm F-wording you, basically. It's another really cringy concept of a track, for sure. And this song tries to be so emotionally loaded that it's just stupid. It's an incredibly douchey track. At least that's what I kind of get. My interpretation of it is that it's properly douchey and not relatable or what do you say? Not relatable or not something you should feel for either. I'm losing my vocabulary here, but it's not a track that I think is very accessible, I suppose. The thing about it is that it is a club song and it tries to be fun, but I don't sympathize with it whatsoever. Absolutely not. Sometimes throughout the song, Enrique sounds like he's about to cry, which is like from overwhelming emotion, which is just really strange when he's singing these kind of lyrics. I think the hook is something like, "I don't mean to be rude, but tonight I'm you," which is yeah. I mean, whatever. This is a predictable club song, really, with a flat beat. All the focus of it is on repetition and the constant pulse that the beat radiates. It's really difficult for me to stick around for the Ludacris feature to see what that has to offer. And once he actually joins in, I immediately regret to actually waiting for him to appear because it was just not necessary. Is the song catchy? Perhaps. Is it repetitive nonsense? Absolutely. It's an I was about to put it in E, but no, it's actually an F. No, absolutely not. Moving on, Last Friday Night by Katy Perry. Now, this is always a track that I forget a little bit about when I think about Katy Perry. I think there are other songs I associate with her more. And then I went onto her Spotify page, and it seems like this is her most popular song, which just took me by surprise, but maybe that's the case. It's neat enough. Like it's a decent pop tune. There's an engaging strumming pattern on this crisp guitar that kicks off the song. Really, the verses showcase quite a neat vocal delivery from Miss Perry here as well. I think instrumentally the chorus lacks a little bit of punch. It's absolutely catchy and melodically stands out a little bit, but instrumentally I don't think it really backs that up. I would have wished for a bit more drive and engagement there. Ultimately, I find the song to be a bit uninteresting, even though that I get that it's memorable and whatnot. But maybe I'm just not really that into Katy Perry's music, so maybe I'm a bit blinded by that. I think this is a solid tune, really. I'm placing it in the C category, but I don't think it's much more than that, really. And I'm surprised that it's her most popular song. I was sure that a song that I will talk about later in this video was going to be that one, but apparently not. Anyway, moving on. Foster the People with Pumped Up Kicks. Now, 2011 has started off rough in this tier list, as you can see, but Pumped Up Kicks is absolutely something that I click with. I think that this song stands out in terms of its just overall approach. It goes for a lot of filtering out, as being especially the vocal is, of course, quite contrasting throughout the track. The verses really just filter out the vocal with kind of like a radio filter in the frequencies. To create quite a compelling contrast with the chorus, I think, which really focuses on a collective vocal delivery and impact with a really sing-along friendly chorus and one that sticks. I think this is melodically very, very memorable. It's a hook that absolutely, you could sing along to at any case. The song does just as well in different kind of versions as well. It's just melodically memorable and sing-along friendly throughout. I think the verses go for that as well, really. I think the combination of very dark lyrics, of course, that this track has, and a rather upbeat energy in the track, it's interesting and it gets me invested. And mainly, like instrumentally, it also has that really rhythmic bass line and the bouncy synths, which makes it a really fun listen, while still carrying that dark topic in its message, I suppose. Like just a intriguing listen altogether. It's a very strong pop tune that I think is very accessible while also having a unique identity to it. I think it's an A-tier song. This is one of the songs I have the most fun with from this year for sure, and one of the ones that I've listened to the absolute most. I gotta be honest, from 2011 I haven't really listened to a lot of these songs many times. I've been forced to listen to them on the radio, but this is one I've actually seeked out in what you say, voluntarily. So that's something. Next up though is S&M by Rihanna, and this is not a song that I've ever really sought out either, but I've heard it millions of times, and I get the appeal for it. I get why it's a hit. It's another, I guess, club banger really, but to me it's a song with a very repetitive hook. I actually have a few parts of the track though that I really like, and that would be the melodic writing of the bridges mainly. I think those are probably the strongest parts, and they are enhanced by a very strong vocal delivery from Rihanna here, who I think really voices these notes quite convincingly, and she puts a lot of identity into this track, which I really like. Unfortunately, the hook is nonsensical and repetitive and monotonous, really reliant on this constant repetition of la 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 kid, come on, which is, very tiring in my opinion. I guess it works in a club setting, doesn't really work for me when I just listen to it to enjoy a song. um, but yeah, I don't know. Instrumentation wise, I also think it feels a bit incohesive as the song progresses. It's very much a track of its time, and I think it has lost a lot of its entertainment value over time or over the years, really. But still, I guess for a lot of people, it would probably be quite a nostalgic, nice one to return to. I'm placing it. Something that I've just realized is like I'm maybe I'm a bit lenient to the songs this year because I don't really enjoy any of them. I'm placing this in the D tier as well, actually. Yeah, this category may get stacked. What do I know? But yeah, it's not something that I particularly enjoy, but I get the appeal. I absolutely do, and I understand why it was a hit back in 2011. But it's not something that stuck with me now. Even though the melodic writing of those bridges works, I'd say. Next up, it's Jennifer Lopez and Pitbull with I was about to say lambada, but no, on the floor is the name of the song. And this is a case where I actually think this kind of what do you call it, an interpolation actually works a bit nicely, because lambada is of course a song that's not a club song originally, but it's definitely a melody that suits this style of music as well, I'd say. I think they utilize this melody very nicely in this track to actually emphasize the catchiness of that melody and just punch up the energy of it and the drive, and create quite a like just a club hit, really, I suppose. I think maybe again, I guess this song hasn't really aged the best. I think the production is rather subpar, which is definitely showcased in the verses of this track. There's a lot of focus on just bass, and I remember back in 2011, it was like the thing was like, oh, do you hear the amount of bass in this song? That's really cool. And there was a lot of just focus on the song should sound bassy. But it's when you listen to it now, it just feels like a bit crazy in terms of its amount there, and it's a bit off-putting. I would have preferred some clarity in here, but it is what it is. It's not going to change. It still, has a drive. It packs a punch. I think the hook is definitely catchy. For me, maybe it's not really the most fun listen, but it's understandably very well suited for the club. So I'll place it in C. I'm placing it top of C, actually, because I think this one's definitely the standout of those in terms of just being exactly what it sets out to be. Or maybe that's wrong phrasing of me, but I get this one the most. I suppose. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll also probably, like, the C category might get stacked here, I just realized, but Just Can't Get Enough by Black Eyed Peas. Now, Black Eyed Peas has gotten a bit of stick from me in previous videos. They've also gotten praise before, but Just Can't Get Enough is kind of in the middle for me. This is top of C tier for me, because I think the production on this track is absolutely strong. It still holds up today, which is a highlight when you compare it to a lot of the other songs from this year. The instrumentation in this track is really dynamic, which I think is nice. There's a neat flow throughout the track, and really pretty choruses, really, that stick. I think the vocal there works. The rapping as well it's just fine in this song. I think everything comes together quite nicely. It's perhaps a bit rigid in its structure, and I don't think that aspect of it is really that impressive. But overall, enjoyable listen, solid tune. I think it's a C category song. It's just a very solid C, right in there, fits nicely, and that pretty chorus really, I think, cements that feeling for me. Next up, Moves Like Jagger by Maroon 5 and Christina Aguilera. And we're getting into the time period now where Maroon 5 went from really cool pop rock, like, I guess, soft pop rock band, to just being plain annoying, in my opinion. This is one of the most annoying choruses I can name. Adam Levine sounds incredibly whiny and pitchy in this song. Christina Aguilera tries to kind of combat that with her presence in the track, but ultimately everything's just lost when you have a chorus as off as this one. I don't get any enjoyment out of it whatsoever. I think the whistling is really obnoxious as well. It's a repetitive tune. it's a bit funky and upbeat and snappy in that regard, so I'm placing it in E because of that. But oh my, how annoying I found this song to be back then, and I still do now. I have very strong memories of when I used to work as a DJ for a very short period of time. People always wanted, oh, can you play moves like Jagger? No, I'm not playing moves like Jagger because I hate it. I was grumpy like that. I could play anything else, but not this. No, just no. Moving on. I said I could play anything, but no, I couldn't, because Super Bass by Nicki Minaj. Now, one thing, Nicki Minaj isn't as big of a thing in Sweden as she apparently is in the USA, of course. Like, she's huge over there. And Super Bass is one of the big ones, I suppose. And this was still early Nicki Minaj days, which means that this song is very sugary in terms of its production. It seems very accessible. It's a very simplistic tune with a lot of just focus on sounding glossy and uplifting and a bit of fun and charming. I feel none of it. I find this to be a dreadful listen, truly. I find her vocal style to be incredibly off-putting throughout the entire track. She does the thing with her voice when she's going up and up and up, and then she is out of breath. And it's really annoying to listen to. The chorus of the song is utter nonsense, just repetition with this kind of bounce in the melody that just gets tiring really quickly. I do not like that aspect of it either. I think the verses are, while there's, some energetic rapping in there, they're not particularly fun for me. And the worst part of it all has to be the instrumental with these kind of very pitchy and almost laser sounding like sound effects all throughout the track. It's not a very pleasant soundstage to this one. It's definitely an F-tier song. I get the appeal maybe a bit more than I do with the other two down there, but oh my, how I can't stand that song either. And I know, like, Nicki Minaj is going to return a lot throughout this series, and you'll just have to get used to me talking negatively about her songs, I feel, because it's not for me, absolutely not. Next up, we got the songs by CeeLo Green. It's actually, like, I don't know why the cover art says what it says, because the song is actually called Forget You, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, this tune is really funky, which is nice. It could be seen as quite fun, and I can get into the groove of this track, absolutely. It's focused entirely on charm and fun, which is effective, I'd say. I personally find this vocal style that CeeLo Green is going for here to be very off-putting, and the lyrics are just packed with really silly metaphors and similarities that I don't particularly click with. It's an upbeat tune. I can't really fault it for trying to be fun and enjoyable. It's just me being grumpy on the side that I can't really connect with it. I'm placing it between the two Pink songs here because I want to distinguish them somehow. Straight up in the D tier there for CeeLo Green. Not something I seek out, but I guess I don't mind it when it's on. I just sit and be grumpy in the corner for a little bit while I tap my foot along to the beat, I suppose. That's kind of my feelings towards it. Bruno Mars up next. Bruno Mars is, of course, huge in these days. He would have, of course, appeared twice on this list if he hadn't already been on the 2010 list. But Grenade, this is a very heavy-handed and overwhelming attempt at drama. It's such an overdramatic tune that it's kind of, kind of stupid and silly in a way, I suppose. But I kind of still managed to connect with it because I think with its emotional load that it carries, the vocal is so convincing from Bruno Mars that I can't really shy away from it. Especially, like, lyrically, it's absolutely overbearing and it's so over the top and feels very desperate in a way that's a bit off-putting. But I think the presentation of it all is quite tangible. I think instrumentally as well it works. The composition is effective. There's strings, piano that provide depth of this track, and then a percussion that contrasts that with in a very compelling way. It's quite energetic there, which ties the song nicely together. Chorus is memorable as well. I think it's a B tier song, just really nicely executed. Perhaps too over the top, but it just kind of clicks in a way, I suppose. So not too bad, and quite an enjoyable listen, really. And I am, of course, as you've probably noticed by now, I am a fan of Bruno Mars, a lot of the things that he's put out. Am I a fan of what Pitbull puts out, though? No, not really. This is Pitbull with Afrojack, Neo, and Nayer with Give Me Everything. And this is a song that I have very strong memories of. This was really when like the house music started to get very popular, and those songs really got into the club scene. And you combine it with these vocal performances, and it's quite a sweet vocal, really, from Neo in this track. I think he provides a neat little vocal hook on this song. There's also like a decent, energetic flow throughout the song. It sounds quite cohesive as well. It has a nice little punchy drive throughout the track. But it's ultimately it is not very substantial, I suppose. There is one line on repeat throughout the hook during the choruses, which gets tiring very quickly, and it's a bit lacking in terms of actual, just forcefulness, I suppose, for a track that's like, for a song of its kind that wants to be club friendly and really get people involved. It feels very soft, I think, which is a bit unfortunate and underwhelming. Still, I guess it works in a way, but when you listen to it with today's ears, there are so many other songs within this genre that you just rather listen to. I'm placing it in D. I think I don't know where. I'll drop Mr. Worldwide in right there. I think it's a catchy song at its core, but it's just so monotonous and repetitive, I feel. So I can't really praise it too much. However, Katy Perry, I've talked about her quite a bit now, and E.T. here with Kanye West is actually, I've realized that it's one of my favorite Katy Perry songs. It's not saying much because I don't really find Katy Perry to be among my favorite artists or so, but I really love the attitude of this one. Mainly, I think the choruses go really hard in this song. I think melodically it's a compelling tune, great drive behind it, and I like this playful percussion that it has going for it as well. Instrumentally, it just kind of clicks. It is one of Katy Perry's more punchy efforts in my book. I'm not sure if this Kanye feature was really required on this one. I think that really his feature fits this song like a bull in a china shop. But it kind of is what it is. I mean, you can't remove him from the track. He's there doing his thing. It's a bit off. I don't mind Kanye West, but in a track like this, he just appears, provides nothing. A lot of autotune is what he's providing, which doesn't really suit this track, which I think that Katy Perry is actually carrying by her own vocal quite a lot. So a bit of an off-putting and unfortunate aspect in the track. Still, I consider this to be a B-tier song. I think it's strong, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit, actually. So nice one there from Katy Perry mainly. I'm not mentioning Kanye in that. He has other highlights throughout his career, not this one, in my opinion. Katy Perry times 2 comes along here. Firework by Katy Perry is the number 3 song on this year's End charts. And this is, again, kind of like Last Friday Night, I suppose. This is accessible. This is probably the most accessible Katy Perry song. And this is really what I thought was probably like her most famous song. Maybe it isn't, but I've heard it a million times, which means that I am very, very tired of hearing it. It doesn't do anything inherently wrong, really. Like, it's just a solid pop tune, very catchy and memorable. It's has a kind of like a striking impact in the choruses from the vocal, mainly, I think. It's a sing-along friendly tune, decent pop tune all around, memorable melodically, very accessible. It's not really a track for me, but maybe that could just be because I've heard it so many times. I don't seek this one out ever, but I can't really fault it for that. So I'm placing it in C, right above Last Friday Night. I kind of think they're gelling into one. I think Firework is probably the more engaging one, though. But yeah, it's not by much, I would say. Next up is LMFAO. They were a thing. This song is also with Lauren, Bennett, and GoonRock. It's party rock anthem. You know this song. It's among the dumbest things I know, and I kind of do not like this group one bit. I'm not an enemy to the EDM scene. On the contrary, I love EDM music, but I'd rather have it be a bit creative and dynamic and well produced. This one, it feels like it's trying to be super quirky and silly and fun to get a good laugh out of people, and I guess it succeeded. Meanwhile, you know me, I'm the grumpy one. I find this to be incredibly tiresome. I find it to be a dull and dire listen, and once the choruses come in with their attempt at energy, I zone out entirely. However, it's not as bad as I'm so sure that there will be another song by this group appearing in next year's top. And if it isn't, I'll be a happy man. But because of that, I think this one is superior to that so far nameless song. I'm placing it in E tier. It's kind of like the same type of annoying as moves like Jagger, and it appeals to the same kind of audience maybe as well. It's upbeat and dance friendly, but I'm not dancing to it. I'll rather dance to On the Floor, I suppose, out of the songs from this year. 2011 is not it's not my year. What a rough one for me. Oh, this is sad. I hope 2012 will be better. At least one thing is for certain though. 2011 ends with a bang. Rolling in the Deep by Adele, which is a brilliant tune, really. It comes across with such clarity, professionalism, conviction. Adele sings her heart out in a very convincing manner. It's all about her, but this track also provides a lot of rhythmic distinction. I think it's punchy. I think the choruses are incredibly memorable and incredibly compelling. It's a palpable soundstage throughout the song, mixed very well. The progression of the track flows very naturally. I think the bridges are building towards the choruses in a very, very rewarding way, meaning that when the choruses appear, it's such a satisfactory release to the track. Use a lot of tension in the song, mainly through the verses that also feature quite a soulful vocal that really has a lot of passion into it, and all of that's released during these choruses. There's just a proper release and explosion of all the feelings being established throughout the song. I think it's a perfect track, really. Can't fault anything about it. Probably my favorite Adele song, if I'm completely honest. It's just a huge hit. It's an S tier song, and at least we ended on a very, very strong high here for 2011, because oh my, this has been a rough year to go back to. A lot of songs in the bottom few categories here for me. Maybe I'm a bit harsh, but this is just, I don't have fond memories of this year when it comes to these songs in particular, or majority of them, I suppose. But maybe you do. Please let me know if this is a year for you, and which song have I been the most harsh on? Which is your favorite of the songs? Hopefully, or well, I shouldn't say hopefully, but I'd be interested to see if there are a lot of people who agree with me when I say that Rolling in the Deep is the best song from this year, because I don't think it's even a contest, but maybe you have a different opinion, and I would love to hear about it. So please share your thoughts in the comments below. What are your favorite songs from this year? Or do you find it to be equally as bad as I do, maybe? I'm sure there were tons of great songs released in 2011, perhaps just not the ones that charted so highly, I suppose. Thank you regardless for sticking around with this video and watching it. I hope to see you again tomorrow when I talk about the songs from 2012. It's going to be fun. Hopefully it's going to be a better year. See you then. Take care and bye-bye.